Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are here for a bonus episode. We're talking Netflix series Survival of the Thickest. It's going to be so fun. Season 1. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Jasmine's here.
Hey, everybody.
And we have a special guest with us today. We have Rania here, and Rania is a patron of our podcast. And she suggested this episode as one of her perks for being a patron. And we're so grateful to have you on and grateful for you being a patron. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I am so happy to be a Patreon. Remember, the benefits have been great. I 100% urge people to do it. This is such a wonderful podcast to join. And I was telling Rachel, I did it because I listened to this podcast multiple times a week, and I would just, go for it.
Yeah,
you won't regret it.
Thank you. Well, we have lots and lots of perks for being a patron. And one of them at the $30 level is you can become a guest on the Patreon. And I mean, you can become a guest on the podcast and suggest an episode. And I watched, I'd never even heard of this Survival of the Thickest. I watched it and I really enjoyed it. And we should say, this is definitely a more mature show. So we should put that disclaimer. If that's not your jam, then this one probably won't be for you. But I do think it's one that a lot of people will enjoy if they give it a shot. And it's also a really quick binge. It's 8 26-minute episodes. So you can get through it real quick. Real quick. So we're gonna have fun talking about it, but how did you find out about it, Rana?
So, just turned on Netflix looking for something to watch, and the main image, of course, resonated with me. She's a woman of color. She's a full-bodied woman. She has natural hair, something you don't see often, and something I personally crave as a woman of color, as a woman who has natural hair, and honestly struggles with wearing my hair natural for all the reasons we all know. Woman that has struggled with her weight a lot. So I was like, oh my God, she's beautiful. I want to watch this. And everything about it spoke to me. So I was really happy to see it.
Yeah. What about you, Jasmine? When did you first watch it?
I watched it when it debuted. I found out through the circuit of advertising. I saw it was mentioned on The View. It was on IG. Yeah, Michelle, she actually was on there, talking about the show, and actually it's based off the book as well that she wrote. So I was like, okay, like I'm here. I'm gonna watch it. I saw like a little clip of it. I was like, okay, I'm 100% invested in this show right now. When it dropped, I'm gonna watch it. When I watched it, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm living my life through her. She understands. Like, this was amazing. I'm like, this should have been more than the 8 episodes, but we got what we got. And I can sit here and rewatch it. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It made me want to just throw hands a little bit. It just made me rejoice, to fight for your dream. Like all this in between, Irina said, it's amazing to see women, full figure women, plus size women with natural hair, curly hair, thick hair, different body types from different parts of life is just showing up in this series. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, what's interesting is as I was watching, I was following, there's the site called The Review Geek that does recaps and different things. And the writer for that really didn't like the show. She was extremely tough on it. And it was just interesting. It's just always fascinating how people can see things so different because she talks about how she thinks it was. She says the characters in this show appear shallow, insufferable, and difficult to connect with, which I feel like the total opposite.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
I do think that she can be an unlikable protagonist. I think that's fair, but I think that made her feel more real to me. Like when she would have, like, to me, I felt like it was very authentic. Like this was not a perfect person that we were following in her
It's
life, her
really
choices.
funny that you say that because I didn't see any unlikable traits about her. I felt in love with her.
Yeah.
I felt like I want her to be my friend. I wish
Yeah.
this person was in my life.
I just felt like she was very real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Mhm. Yeah. And very authentic. I do think that the show, I kind of wish that they were 42-minute episodes. So I do think there are times when it does feel a little bit rushed because they were so limited as far as time.
Totally agree. I'm sitting here like, why we can't have more? We want
Yeah.
more.
But yeah, I overall really enjoyed it. And it's just, I don't know, it's just interesting how people can see the exact same thing and have such different responses. But in the episode that this lady that she liked the most was the proposal episode, which was probably my least favorite. And it's just
Which one was the
interesting.
proposal episode? The last one?
Yes.
The episode 7.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
episode
Yeah.
7.
But the summary, when a size inclusive New York City stylist who wants to make it big in the fashion world suffers a devastating breakup, she decides to live her messy single life on her own terms. Even if her ex, her on the job faux pas, and her dating highs and lows threaten to take her down, nothing's going to stop her from becoming a boss. And so, yeah, Jazzman, what did you overall think about the show?
I thought this show literally, like, if all the Hallmark is out there watch a Romance in Style, this kind of like that though, but they did a version of it.
Yeah.
But for me, it was real, it was authentic. I got to see, you know, her with her friends. Like they actually dealing with like real stuff in their life. Either was it work related, it was love, it was like everything in between. I'm sitting here like, I see myself like plus size women, curvy women, full figure women. We're all out here winning. It didn't matter if the breakup happened, if the future love was coming through. Like I have my friends, I'm sitting here, I have my up and coming career. Like everything was happening. I'm like, I love her.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see her in one of her comic shows. I'm really am serious. Like, she gives me the laugh, she gives me the cry, she gives me like, wow, that's deep. Like she's giving me that confidence that I need. I'm like, damn, I need your confidence.
Yeah, she was confident, but I felt like in an authentic way. It wasn't sort of the, like cringe, sassy, tough, like it was like, feels like a real person that I could connect with.
And that what it was.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about the first episode. So it starts out with after a shocking discovery forced her to make a fresh start, a heartbroken Mavis lets loose during a night out and keeps it real with an old associate. So it starts out that they show her being really smitten with this guy jock, and then she finds him with a model and having an affair. And so obviously devastated, and then she ends up becoming roommates with this girl named Jade, who I thought Jade was really funny.
One of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jade. We gotta love Jade.
Yeah, she's really funny. I was just like, what a nightmare for a roommate, but like again, I felt like in a pretty believable. I think a lot of people in New York City have had that. I've had Jade as their roommate. And we also get to meet her best friend Khalil. And so I'm curious what you think of Khalil, Rana, and his arc in their friendship.
So what I think Khalil is probably my favorite sidekick ever for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
He's not a gay man. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for not going into the trope of the gay best friend. Like he is a straight man. I love that he has an artsy side. He's sensitive.
Yeah.
He's just so mature, and there's no romance between him and her. He's not pining over her. Thank you again.
Right.
I love that he doesn't end up hooking up with her other friend. Like none of those horrible tropes happen.
Mhm.
So I really appreciated it, and I really love the investment in this character. We really get to know him and see him grow. So, and he's really hot, so that I appreciated that too.
Yeah.
Just everything about him, he was really great.
Yeah. What did you think, Jasmine Khalil?
Oh my gosh, I wish he was one of my friends in real life, like artsy type of thing. Like I have like some guy friend here or there, but not like tight. Like one of my guy best friends, he's like my gay best friend. I love him. He does drag. Like I love him. But can I find a straight guy who be my best friend who's here? I'm here for the relationship. I'm here for like, the talk like for less team. I like he gives it like in this creative way. I just love him, and he is hot, by the way.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they did not give him that trope of being gay. I'm glad that he was, straight. He has his own love life. He's trying to do his thing in art and just expressing himself for who he is. I just like, I love it.
Yeah, I enjoyed him too. It's played by Tone Bell is the name of the actor,
Mhm.
and he was very warm, and I believed their chemistry as friends, and I appreciate that they didn't have any kind of episode where they were just platonic, which is so refreshing to see, and I think kind of aspirational that everybody wants
So
a friend like that.
I did a little digging. They are friends in real life.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
they have been friends, I think, for at least 8 years, if not longer. And the character is based on a real life straight friend that she has that she grew up with, which
Oh,
is
nice.
again the authenticity that like everything feels so authentic because it's real lived experience. And I
Mhm.
was listening to a podcast where he talked about he got to meet the real life Khalil and how great that was. So
Mhm.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
It did. It felt authentic. Felt like everybody felt like friends. And in this, like everybody had chemistry. Even with Jack, like you could see why she was so drawn to him. That they did have like a chemistry together. But then, of course, he's then that makes you dislike him even more.
wow. This
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah. Uh, but I can imagine. I haven't really had a relationship like this long-term relationship like Mavis has in here, but I can imagine that because people say, why would you kind of hang on to this thing, this bad relationship? But I think the hard part is going from having something to having nothing. It's not like you have another option like that's immediately there. And so for her to go from being in this relationship to having nothing is really, really tough. Really tough. What did you think of Jack? Did you have any sympathy for him, Rana, at all?
So I believe it's Jacques, not Jack, but it's Jacques. I've dated a lot of Jacques in my life.
Oh, right.
Unfortunately, these really alpha, really confident, successful types that are super attractive and I think I can relate to her. Sometimes when you're with a guy like that, you feel like he's out of your league.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you think, oh my God, I'm so lucky to be with a guy that clearly he could probably be with any woman he wants to be. So when you're a larger woman,
Yeah.
and you're feeling a little insecure, and I think you're seeing that, and she talks about it when she talks about the cheating, where people are like, of course he cheated on her, she's not like, look at her. I think, you know, when you're with a more attractive, very successful guy that you might think is out of your league, you do overlook red flags, you
Yeah.
do kind of stay in a relationship you probably shouldn't. And he's really, you know, he's a narcissist. Clearly he's really good at giving her just enough, and we see it later, so I won't get into it, but he's good at like sorry, I'm losing my voice. He's good at like bringing it in and being the awesome boyfriend when he needs to be, and then we'll see it again when he doesn't get what he wants. We see his true colors. So
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that it's interesting because she seems like a super, super confident character, but everybody has their insecurities, and her feeling like he's out of her league. You can see sort of her insecurity. And by the end of the season with Luca, she realizes that, you know, I think her confidence in relationships really grows a lot. What do you think, Jazzman, about Jack?
This boy, like any type of trope. Yeah, he thinks he could have his cake and eat it too. Where no, I'm good, but like you're technically you think you're my main, but you're really not my main, and it made me think like, how long has this really been going on in the relationship? Like, oh, when you're really gone, but it just shows like where he was at. He was looking for his more of a success versus the main character's success, because he's trying to go out there like all of these get like, I'm gonna put you on a little bit, but you should put it on from day one. Like that's gonna be your girl, put it on from day one. But you kind of see where he's at, where he's trying to go towards in the fashion industry and trying to leave her behind in a sense. Trying to take over her, like, you know, her cooking thing and stuff like that. So for me, he does show his true colors along the way. At the same time, yeah, he's the guy that you definitely need to not date, ladies. Do not date this type of guy. So even the mama like him. We're gonna get to that later.
I want to bring up one more thing that I think is really important. She's very talented, and I think a lot of his success relies on her talent. When his photo shoot is not going well, and the male head stylist is not bringing it, what happens, and we see this a lot in real life, this is why I feel like it's mimicked in real life, a woman of color is really doing the work. She's really the talent. She's the one that saves the photo shoot.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that when everyone else is dropping the ball, they turn to her, but she's not the lead stylist. A man is the lead stylist. So, but they turn to her, she comes in, she blows it up. The woman in charge, there was a woman in charge, is like loving it. This is amazing. She like every shot is perfect. And no one sees that it was her that saved it till Jacques says it. And this is part of the problem of society in the patriarchy. You know, it took a man to be able to have her work recognized.
Yeah.
And
you're right.
And I think in this relationship, she's uplifting and really elevating his career and sacrificing hers because she's kind of in his shadow a little bit. And I think we see this later where once she is released from this relationship, she really becomes her star. She's no longer filling someone else's cup. And we really see her grow and strive. And I think that was my favorite thing about this episode.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, so then the next episode is let's see.
Oh, can we mention Khalil? Like Khalil's like moments taking the jacket. Like Doc was like, "That my jacket." I was like, "You're not gonna need it."
Oh yeah, that was good. So the next episode, While adjusting to life as a newly single woman, Mavis takes on a styling gig for a former supermodel who goes viral and inspires a new perspective. So she starts working for this lady, Natasha. And Natasha is interesting because she is basically like in denial of her weight, and she's like insist upon wearing this corset. And so Mavis has to kind of finagle things to get her into this dress and to get her to wear something that actually fits her. And it's all for Natasha's ex-husband's funeral, and she doesn't know that's what they're doing. And so so she shows up at Natasha shows up at the funeral, and basically in this green sparkly dress, and gives this big speech. It was a pretty kick butt moment for Natasha. And I thought that she was another interesting character that had this mixture of confidence and like complete insecurity. And that's what I thought this show really nailed. And that's something I connected with, because I feel that like I'm a very confident and very extroverted person, except when it comes to dating, and then I get super shy and like, and so I think everybody has those things that they struggle with your confidence, and so anyway, I thought it was a pretty interesting, fun episode. What do you think, Jazzman?
This episode is life. I love you some Garcelle. She actually was a model actually. So this was a perfect role for her, stepping back into her modeling like shoes. Like she's done plenty of shows, from movies to television, everything in between. She delivered. And it also talks about how models go through, especially the ones who are older, getting more, voluptuous in like the hips, the thigh areas, the stomach area, where they're trying to still fit into the supermodel, aesthetics of like, I have to be skinnier, I have to be, because they're so grained into that mode where, no, I love how Mavis was talking about, no, like you are beautiful, and trying to, get that body positivity. No, you're still beautiful regardless. No matter if you gain weight or not, like you're still amazing. And for her to walk, give her that confidence as well. Like it was on like, maybe trying to fill her own cup, like, but she's also trying to spread her message across the, to her, like, no, you're beautiful. But she did kill that green dress, and y'all, that funeral, because I was shocked too. Like, we're at our funeral? Hold on, wait a minute. And then the speech, I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh. And I was like, what? I was like, yes, you definitely have to watch, episode 2. Make sure, caution for the eyes, but, things may be, I don't know, it may be shown. That's all I can say. In the words of, Natasha, the Pharaoh life, you take everything with you.
Well, and it felt very like New York energy to me.
Yes.
This whole thing, like,
it was a fashion show.
Yeah.
It was giving it. It was like, oh my wait, we're at a funeral and we're doing a fashion show walk down. Let's go.
Yeah. What did you think of Rania? What did you think of this one?
So, first of all, I love Natasha. I love 2 things about the show. I love that Mavis doesn't seem to have body insecurity, which I think is unrealistic. That's one thing I think is unrealistic, but I love that, because I need to see that to feel better about myself, and I need to see a full-figured woman who doesn't have body issues, because we don't see that, and I need it modeled to get there myself personally. Yeah. So I love that about Mavis. But what I love about Natasha is here she is. She's definitely a thinner, more conventionally attractive woman than Mavis, but is having such body insecurities and really struggling with it. And like you were talking about it, the duality of, we all have confidence and insecurities, and that's so realistic and so life. So I love, and I loved Natasha's character. She is so fun. Every time she's on the screen, she kind of steals it.
Yeah.
Like she steals the scene every single time, and I love it. So love this character. I want to say another thing about this episode that I loved. We're introduced to drag queen culture, which is really great.
Yes.
I love that Khalil doesn't flinch when a trans drag queen is hitting on him. It's not even a big deal. I
My
love
favorite
that
scene.
they're showing that here's a straight man, like no homophobia. Love that. Another thing I loved is the styling in this episode. You get to see Mavis in a lot of cute outfits. And I have to say, outfits I don't even have the confidence to wear. She wears a crop top in this. And I'm like, damn, I wish I had the confidence to wear a crop top, but I don't. And she's so beautiful. She is such a beautiful woman. And I love that she, like, I think a lot of us will wear dark colors and try to, but she doesn't. She like shows off her body. And again, it's something I really value about the show because I'm hoping it will penetrate me and like get me there. And others, because I think women need this because we're not models.
Well, the thing is, though, also, yes, she is confident with her body, but she's not in a cliched way confident. Like, I don't know. She's not like she's talking a lot about being like big and bold, or like it's not something that really kind of overtakes her personality or her life. She just is, she's just a normal person, which of course that's what she should be. But I don't know. Sometimes I think that they would make like being big and bold like part of her personality, but it's really not, which I really appreciate.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Like I can see it kind of shining out through her, like through her, like her fashion, like her confidence is shining out through her fashion, which, I loved. It was like, I remember my crop top moment. I was wearing a crop top. My best friend at the time, she was like, I'm not wearing one. I don't feel confident. Now, like a couple years later, she's like, I'm like, you wearing a crop top? I'm like, yes, I'm feeling myself. I was like, I guess in that moment of your rebirth of like going through your confidence, like you have this edge, like, I don't care. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about episode 3. So Mavis springs into action when drag queen has a wardrobe malfunction and a late night date with a charming stranger turns into a sticky situation. So I have to say, I am like a huge Luca fan. I absolutely loved him. I can't think of a character in a show or movie that I have thought was more attractive than this actor playing Luca. He was swoon worthy. I've never seen him before in anything. He was so great. I and I from the very beginning, I absolutely just loved him. I thought he was great. And I mean, Luke, I wrote down Luca is everything to me. So much. The only thing I didn't really understand is I didn't understand why she didn't just spit out her gum. What's wrong with her?
You have to watch the episode to understand, y'all. Watch the episode.
She was drunk, I think, and then it wouldn't have been funny.
I guess.
Can I tell you, this was my favorite episode.
Okay. Yeah.
I swooned so much. Like I was swooning all over. I don't even remember the last time I swooned so much. This man is hot. And one of the lines she said, I'm like, one day I want to use this line. When he was talking about his job about helping refugees, and she's like, sorry, my ovaries were just high-fiving, and now they're giving a standing ovation. I'm like, girl, yes.
Yes.
Like this man was so sexy. And it wasn't just, he's not like the Hallmark conventionally attractive man. He's more attainably attractive, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was his personality, and it's how he saw her. He always saw her. He, like, at one point, I don't remember if it was this episode where she was like, I just want someone to ask me how my day was. And then he said her name and he was like, Mavis. And you could tell, like, he's so sincere. He's like, Mavis, how was your day? And I'm like, dude, I am swooning. Like yes, the guy is amazing. Girls, you have to watch this.
I don't know how to say his Morone Zati. I'm not trying to say his name. I apologize. But he was so, he is so charming and attractive and great. Jazzman, how did you feel about Luca?
I'm trying to figure out how can I have this type of like meet cute situation. And mind you, I thought I had one in May that didn't pan out. I thought it would, but can I get a Luca version to pan out in real life? Like, I'm here for it. Maybe it's where we all felt like underneath that moment of like, I felt that. Like, is this real?
Yeah.
But no, it kind of gave you the thing where it wasn't shallow with like he had pity on her. Like, he saw her for who she was, creative, saving the day. Like, you know, he saw her. I was like, we all want to be seen.
Yeah.
We want the good in the world.
I'm sorry, but that I forgot about the meet cute. The meet cute is probably one of the best meet cutes I ever saw.
Yeah.
Like,
It's so good.
so
Yeah.
charming.
Yeah. Because they're at this. So what happens is they're at this club, and the performer has a slip in her dress, a slip up in her dress. And so what Mavis does is she goes and she takes Luca's tie. She's like, I need this tie right now. And then she goes and uses the tie to help with the costume thing. And then he comes back. And the back is like, can I get my tie? And so that's how they meet. And it was such a good meet cute, because it was
And-
like showed like the scrappiness of her character, the fact that he wasn't like offended by this, or like, I don't know, it was just great. Yeah, I agree. Really
Yes.
good.
And actually, I want to do a shout out to the LGBTQ plus community again,
No.
because it started with a trans drag queen.
Mhm.
She was working with her, and she wanted to show off her body, and she was like, I think it's too much. And I think her name was Divinity. I took notes, and she said, girl,
Yeah.
I worked 6 years and 3 jobs for this body, and I want to embrace it. And I think
Yeah.
I
that's
felt that.
that's privilege. If you're born in your body that you identify with, we don't realize what that privilege is. And yeah, Divinity had to work for this. And
Yeah.
that's what
That's
I
true.
love. There's so much show not tell. Like
Mhm.
we were talking about the fashion, and you were talking about the confidence. They're showing us her confidence, not telling us. There's a lot of show not tell, which is why I think this show is so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also it shows her confidence just to be willing to go up to Luca and take his tie like that, just as a stranger.
Right? It could have been any guy. She chose
She
Luca.
thought he
like,
was
"You're
on
the
a
most
date with a
opportunity."
man. Remember, she thought he was gay. She thought he was on a date
Yes.
with a man. Yeah.
So he
Oh,
was
that's right.
fine. I swear, every time it'd be all the fun. Like, he is so fine, but like 9 he's gay, but Luca was not. So this was a win for everybody, you guys.
Yeah,
This was a
it
win
really
for
was. Yeah. I mean, I guess you probably get a certain degree of confidence just in the fact that like anybody who would be attending this type of show is probably more open-minded and more, like it's, it's not like you're like at Carnegie Hall or something like that. You probably would be more nervous taking somebody's tie, in a stuffy situation. But in a place like that where everybody's kind of in there to for the like, it's like the improv of it all is also probably part of the fun of attending an event like that. So yeah, it was a great meetup, and I was just like, oh wow, I love this guy so much. It was and the fact that he was still kind of interested in her after she has this bubblegum fiasco.
Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Join me, Daisy,
and me, Claire, as we break down the IMDb Bottom 100, choosing a different film from the list every episode.
We take a deep dive into the plot, production, release, and reviews, usually with a special guest, to uncover if these films are truly as bad as everyone says they are.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
You know what this reminds me of? It was the Cameron Diaz and Christina Applegate movie.
Oh yeah, I've never seen it, but
oh my gosh, you need to see it. It's kind of similar to this episode. I kid you not, you'll love the movie. I definitely listen to you. Drop in the chat, you guys. You guys know what we're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep going. While preparing for a high-profile wedding, Mavis juggles client demands and romantic dilemmas. Marley receives a tempting offer, and Khalil shoots his shot. So she is working with Natasha for Natasha's dog's wedding. And she ends up having to work with Jack for this wedding. And yeah, I think she starts to realize how much he was taking advantage of her. And in this episode, and having to work together. And then we also have Khalil meeting this woman, India, and who is they're very attracted to each other. And then we find out that she has a son. So that kind of becomes his main plot, is bonding with her and her son. And then we also get more Luca. And I loved the ending with Luca in this episode. You need help with that? She's got the toilet. She's got
The high-end Japanese toilet. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. That was very important,
She
okay?
brought over in the subway. I'm like, oh my God. At least get it
Like,
over.
gee, for that. Everything
Yeah.
she did, her movie, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was great. You need help with that? Yes. I need help with this thing. That was really funny. And that was the one thing that she wanted to take from the apartment with Jack. And is the toilet.
Hey, that bidet would change your life.
But what do you think, Jazzman, of Khalil in India? What do you think of that?
Oh my gosh. They literally start out as like, this is the hookup. Like they made that clear,
Yeah.
but because clearly he's a free spirit a little bit. He's doing his thing as art and stuff, but you start to see where his character is growing, where, I see more than just a hookup with India. I see some type of future with her. And she even mentioned, like, you don't have a couch in your apartment, which I love his apartment, by the way.
Yeah.
So I was hearing he's like literally shopping, like, Mavis, I need help finding like this couch. Like, it's like a long-term situation.
That
with a
was
couch.
cute.
And
He's
I
which
felt
couch?
that. I'm sitting here like, I need to get me a new couch because I had you for a good minute.
Yeah.
But no, you see like where he's maturing a little bit. You're seeing where he's now going to connect with David's other friend. Like you're seeing this like growth in him. And I love the relationship that they were starting. And it made me realize, yeah, I'm in my 30s and 9 and 10. I'm probably going to marry a guy with kids. Like, thank you, Khalil, for helping me out with this.
What do you think of Khalil in India, Rana?
What do I think? Obviously she's at his level. She is sassy and I think, he likes the challenge. And I think that's why she's perked his interest. Like, I think, again, he's one of those guys that can basically have whatever woman he wants because he's attractive and talented. And, he's not a narcissist, though. He does have some growing up to do, though. A little maturity, like owning a couch. But we all know these men who haven't grown up, right? In their like 30s. But yeah, she's obviously stunningly conventionally beautiful, really smart, and we're going to learn more about her, so I won't get into it. But this was a little bit of a slow episode, especially after my favorite episode with the meet cute.
Yeah,
and
I can see
something
that.
we didn't talk about. Her other friend was exploring her queerness in this episode. I think is it this one?
Oh yeah, with with the doctor.
So no, the doctor didn't come yet. It was a threesome that became a twosome where she was exploring her sexuality. Actually, yes, this was important, I thought, because it talked about
that's right
how we live in a heteronormative society where pleasure is centered on the male. And even when women explore their queer side, it's usually still framed within the male gaze and the male So it was a really
Mm-hmm.
interesting conversation that you don't usually hear. So I
Yeah.
appreciated that. But
Yeah.
it was a slower episode, but there was a lot of development with all the side
Mhm.
characters. So
Yeah.
it was good.
And like I said, I just thought that ending was really funny with the toilet. It was good. All right, let's move on. Episode 5 is a drop-in visit from an unexpected guest has Mavis questioning her decisions and long-distance relationship. A racist encounter catches Khalil off guard. So what we have is her mother is visiting, comes, and she's very judgmental of her life and her being in this apartment with this roommate and everything. And then we have India's son gets called the N-word in school, and Khalil brings he gets very defensive. And we also find out that Khalil has no real relationship experience, as far as a long-term relationship. So this is kind of a new thing for him, which is interesting. I mean, I guess you expect that with someone who doesn't have a couch, but dealing with these and really investing in a partner is something new for him. So, what do you think of this, Jazzman?
This episode right here, it was really deep in a sense of especially Mavis' mom showing up. I think we have to understand from the cultural perspective of why she wasn't feeling like Luca and the long distance thing, because she's Jock is here. I think for her, she comes from a traditional African background. So I'm I get that. So it's no, you need he's here. She sees he's what she wants for her daughter, where she doesn't know what Mavis actually wants. Her mom's not listening because she's so rooted in the cultural aspect. So I kind of get that. And then going off towards as we keep going towards the episode, they're talking about the racist encounter. And I'm sitting here they're actually really having a real conversation about this. This happened from maybe from my personal experience, my friends talking about it or having one-on-one personal experience with that. It's it's really difficult, especially where you're growing up, how people move across the country. So you get to see wow, these things still happen. You feel it's a long time ago. These tendencies still happens, and while they're highlighting where kids are still calling, either it doesn't matter what race background, you be Hispanic, you be Indian, you are getting a slur, either from a younger, either grade school or during high school, even as an adult. And I think it's very important to understand, how do we combat that? How do we talk about that? Having open dialogue with our kids about that. Even adults as well.
Yeah, and they have the different perspectives, because some say just ignore it, don't make a big deal of it, and then others think that we need to say. And so I think they did a pretty good job especially considering, like I said, these episodes are only 28 minutes, so they don't have a lot of time to pack in so much story. I don't know, Rana, what do you think of that?
Okay, first, I love this episode because of her mother. Her mother, first of all, reminds me of my mother. I'm a daughter of immigrants, so I really related to this.
Yeah.
The fact that her mother shows up in pure white, I mean, her mother is almost exactly my mother.
Yeah.
Her hair is perfect. Her makeup is perfect. She's a prim and proper church-going woman. She is wearing white. I never wear white. Do you know why? I spill stuff on me all the time. I am afraid to wear white. My mother wears white all the time. This woman wore all white. You have to be a very disciplined, very clean, this woman.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So here that she is, she shows up, she's perfect. She just heard them having sex. She's you're going to church with me. I just loved everything about her mom.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It was really cool. And I liked having this immigrant perspective because it is different. And it is more practical. And the judgment, oh my God, I related to the judgment. All I ever felt was judged by my mother. So I 100%, all I ever know is how I disappoint my mother. And that's so for me, I really felt seen.
Yeah.
with the mother situation.
It makes me grateful because my mom is so low maintenance. She's an
So-
artist herself, and she's just like, I've never felt any pressure from her to have like a particular career or like the most I've ever gotten from my mom is like, oh, I'm surprised, like a sort of like, oh, I didn't expect that. but never like, I'm very grateful.
So
I
I
have a
sound like
low
your
maintenance
mom because you either become your parent or you rebel. I have a 10-year-old. I'm very easygoing. I'm artsy. I sound like more like your mom than my mom. No, I love the racism conversation because again, we don't see this. I love that it was only among people who identified racially amongst each other because there was no explaining. I like that
Right.
Yes.
because
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
it
true.
was more like
way to
this
put
is
that.
about them.
Mm-hmm.
This is about their experience. They could be authentic. And again, you could tell all of these are real experiences. You could tell her childhood story was definitely something that happened to her, whether that was exactly what happened to her, who knows. Because honestly, I've personally had to deal with it as a child as well. Not a Black woman, but so many parallels. You could tell this is, it was written by people who's had this lived experience. It
Yeah.
was presented by people who had this lived experience. And it's super important, just like the fat phobia, the LGBTQ stuff. It's important, the representation, both in the writing room and the performance, that this happens because we don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I've missed with this show that I really wish they had was more disability. I feel like that's the only thing they missed. They didn't embrace disability because they're talking about different body types. The disability piece is missed. So if there's a season 2, I would love for them, because in the fashion world, that is now a new thing where incorporating disability within fashion and having more accessible fashion is great. I did also notice when Natasha was introduced, her assistant, I forgot to mention this, had a limp. And I didn't notice that till the second time I watched it. And I was like, I really liked that they had a disabled person. They didn't make a big deal about it. But that is my only, one of the very few critiques I have of this. I wish disability was more part of the inclusiveness. Hopefully they'll tackle that in season 2. And I'm hoping there's a season.
It could be interesting. I mean, I feel like no show can be everything to everyone. But yeah, especially in a city as diverse as New York City, I think that could be a really interesting some characters to include for sure. Well, let's move on. So episode 6 is booked and busy. Mavis secured a dream job styling a lingerie launch, celebrating body positivity, but struggles to set boundaries when conflicts arise. So basically, she's given a chance to work for this Nicole Byer, and she is offered it's like, what is it, $10,000 by Natasha.
Yeah, basically $120,000 a year.
Yeah. And so she's very tempted, but that she has this other chance to really kind of start her own line, her own, and so she's debate what does she do. She has a panic attack at the end of this episode, and I felt like that was really well done. And as somebody who's had a panic attack, I've had 2. I think they captured that experience of like you feel like you can't breathe, you feel like you I think that that was all well done, and that it's nice that she's given multiple choices for her life, that of so she's presented with more than, it's not between something that's bad and something that's good. She's has several good things, and I think that's the way life is sometimes, is what is the right thing for me to do amongst good choices, Rania, what did you think of that?
There's 2 quotes from this episode that I loved. The fashion designer woman, forgetting the actress's name, she's amazing. She said, I guess she's doing a fashion line with lingerie for plus size women, and Mavis is like, oh, I love that nothing is beige, and she said, beige girl, I don't know her. I'm a walking talking bag of Skittles. I was like, this is something I love about the show. There's so many funny, like, it's so witty, like, you have to pay attention. They say so many things, and it's like you really have to focus. Like every other sentence is amazing and witty and wonderful. And I think Mavis comes up with this birds of paradise theme and explains it at the end, where she says plus size women are always being told to shrink, and the paradise flowers bloom in the light. So I want people to feel like I'm not going to let the world shame me into shrinking. So it was so beautiful and poetic, and I mean, I just love
and
this show.
so Luca offers to fly her to Italy, and he thinks this is going to be a fun surprise. And she even says like, oh, that's so romantic, but it ends up putting sort of pressure on her, because she did the idea of taking a break at this time with everything she has going on is like, instead of reducing stress, it actually adds stress. And I think also there's like a little bit of judgment of like, either you kind of do this or your life isn't that you're a workaholic, kind of a thing. Like if you don't do this, and this is a sign. And so that's kind of interesting, but I wish we could have gotten even more Luca in the show in general. So I was like, why did they even send him to Italy? Why didn't they just have him stay?
It's based again on her real life.
Oh, okay.
So I was watching it with a few people, and they're like, I don't believe this Luca line story. I go, this is based on her husband's actually Dutch.
Okay.
And I think, again, I didn't read her book, but you could tell like this is all based on real stuff, and she had to deal with this in real life.
Yeah. Well, and it's just, I think it's a messy relationship without seeming, like, to me at least, too cliched. Like I can understand why he would think this is a very romantic gesture and think it's a good idea, but also why it adds pressure to her. Like that makes sense to me.
I think it felt belittling to her, because it would have felt belittling to me. It's like, I'm busy, I have all this stuff, and you want me to drop everything and come see you. But he like recognized it and corrected it.
Yeah. Jazzman, what do you think of that?
Let's see. Wait,
of Luca trying to get her to come to Italy.
Child, if my passport wasn't expired right now, would drop. But at that time, she was on this path of like, like my career kicking off with Natasha. I got booked with Nicole. So I'm definitely two different things. Mind you, Nicole Byers is everything. I love her in Grand Crew. Like, she's also a comedian as well. So I know they know each other through the circuit. So those two together, I would love to see them both in the show. But for me, for Mavis, like, she was juggling lots. She's juggling this long-term relationship, trying to, like, I want to fly, but I have this launch party. But then Natasha called me 24/7, like, no, I want you to be my thing, be my style exclusive. Like, no, I cannot share you. So it's kind of like she's being pulled in a different direction. And I get it. I get like where she's in this health emergency. Like, that like me a couple of years ago where I'm working 2 jobs and trying to plan a birthday trip. I'm like, I literally just called out the day before I was supposed to leave on a flight, which I didn't catch. I'm like freaking out and having a panic attack. I'm like, this is a lot. And she gave me something that was real. I'm like, I felt that. I understood that. But for Luca, like, I glad he understood, like, I wish I could go, but at least that plane ticket was still there for a good year. And she could catch it anytime.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
All right, so episode 7, a health emergency pushes an anxious Mavis to find a release and weigh her options as her parents pressure her to give an old flame a second chance. So what happens is basically after this experience, she starts thinking about, well, maybe I actually do want to have a child. Maybe I do want a family, which is something she hadn't really considered. But I still didn't really buy that she would take Jack back. But she sees it. Well, she sees like things with Luca especially with us being apart, are so distant that I'm never going to be able to have like a child with him. And so but then when Jack comes back, she's like, okay, then this is something that's possible. And so she decides to pursue things with with Jack. And it's interesting because the review geek, this episode, she says, for the first time, it feels like the Netflix show has come out from its fairy tale like delusion in this episode, which is more grounded in reality than the previous ones, which to me, I felt like I disagreed because I felt like there's no way that this woman would go back and with this guy. Like that to me, it actually seemed the opposite of grounded in reality. It's just funny how people can take things. But I don't know. Do you think, Jazzman, could you see why? Did you buy that she goes back with Jack?
I think she went back due to like her parents' persuasion in a sense. Well, I know Luca's away, but he's right here. But kind of like repeating like in her back of her mind, like, yeah, I'm with him, but will this happen again? Like, will this happen again? Like, but she knew she deserved better. So she's kind of like, I guess, in a sense, settled for her parents and out going for what she really wants. That's what I see in this whole Jock situation. Because honestly, like, he should never been in second thought after the whole, like, I saw you at the wedding. I want to see you there. But here we are working as, like, you know, mutual friends at this rate. But for me, it was definitely like a settled situation. Like, let me see what happened if I settled. And she kind of realized it throughout the episode. Like, she doesn't want to settle what her parents want for her. Like, this is not that wasn't what she wanted. And I can't believe she even got with him like for like that whole like 2 days or 3 days, whatever it was. Like, she did not deserve her time to be with him. That's all I know.
What did you think, Rania, of this?
So again, I can relate. This is why I love the show. I actually can relate to her character on so many levels because I have been her. I have been in my mid-30s. Well, in this, she's 38, but in my mid-30s where I was like, oh God, time is passing by and am I going to have kids? And you're kind of more driven by fear and practicality. And so I have done things that she has done, like made choices that under other circumstances I would not have. So I actually believe this. Now, this is again why lived experience and diversity is so important, because if you've never been in this situation, of course you would think it's not realistic. But I have literally been in this situation and have done what she has done. And it's really nice, again, to see it. To see your life reflected back to you. And I think so many times we don't see these stories about women, you know, like we're in the time of the boss woman where it's like, oh, I could do everything and have everything I want and I'm not going to compromise. But that's not reality. Reality is scary. Reality is questioning yourself. Reality. So I felt it was really real. But again, it depends on who you are and what your life experience is. But I 100% related to her.
Yeah,
that's so true.
All right. The final episode is a tense dinner puts Khalil in the hot seat while throwing a special teen prom. Mavis gets caught in a predicament and must decide what her heart wants. So I was so, so team Luca that I was so happy. Well, because it starts as she keeps seeing Luca
Yes.
instead of Jack. And so she knows that's a problem. And then our end, which the whole episode was fun, but I was really just sort of living for the ending when she shows up and she tells Luca what happened, and he's like, well, hopefully we can figure this all out, and then she knocks on his door, and there she is. She's like, I hope I gave enough time. It was really good. I was like, yes. And because I just thought they had such great chemistry, and I was just so into him. So it was really that ending that did it for me. I loved it. I loved the ending. And it's fun to see her go out on her own and have the confidence to start this new kind of new business for herself. She won't be leaning on anybody else, which I think was really cool. And so yeah, I loved the ending. I thought it was really good. What do you think, Jazzman?
This episode, like its title, for the big purpose B. But I love the episode. It opens up like, Mavis finally gets into, she's like, I don't want to be with you. I want to be with Luca. And also like seeing her other friends where they're going as well. Like you're seeing Khalil, he's at a dinner party because, he's getting more time with India's, son, and the dad wanted to meet him, and that was harsh, by the way. Watch it. But Khalil's trying to come in his own as well, and you're seeing all, not only Mavis though, but it's kind of rubbing off of her. Like everybody else around her is rubbing off, like trying to be this confident person, like owning, what they want for their lives and where they see themselves going. And I'm like, I'm here for it. The party was amazing, by the way. I was at the prom. The prom was lit.
Yeah, it was fun.
But no, you can see a purpose where everybody's deciding what they want for themselves, and like who they want in their lives, who they want in their careers, everything in between. So I loved it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Rana?
So this was one of my favorite episodes. I think as I told you all, episode 3 is my favorite because of the meet cute and Luca. Episode 5, there's a lot of Luca in that. Loved it too. And episode 8, because of Luca and her chemistry with him. It's like anyone who's a rom-com fan, I mean, these are just great moments with her and Luca. They have such great chemistry. It was a wonderful episode. I think Khalil and India would be interesting in a season 2 because she is a single mom and she's dealing with the co-parenting thing. They kind of touch on that. I am also a single mom and have had to date. And I, again, really, this is why I love the show. There's so many things I related to. So I related to a lot of what India was going through. And to be honest, saw some red flags about her ex and maybe her not wanting to piss him off, because then that makes her life harder. So yeah, her ex is still controlling her. He's controlling her relationship, which a healthy relationship with Khalil. Khalil doesn't understand this. Again, he doesn't have kids, never was a single dating, but it's hard being a single parent and dating, and the intricacies you have to navigate. So I did see red flags with the ex and him controlling her, and would love to see that explored in season 2.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I hope we get a season 2. I just feel like it's not a show that's getting a lot of buzz, but I hope it gets enough that and now with the strikes going on, everything's that's also impacting whether shows are getting canceled or renewed. But I really enjoyed it, and especially Luca. And when I think, like, I enjoy when a show has like an aspirational lead, like in the sense of like you have a average sized or plus size girl with like a supermodel. Like that's fun. I enjoy that. But I also enjoy in this case where I felt like he was it felt authentic to me. I felt like they really would be into each other and they had that chemistry, and I don't know if that makes sense, but it was just, it totally 100% worked for me. I loved Luca so much. I would see anything this actor does in the future. I liked it. He was so good.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good. Let us know if you are listening, if you watched the show, what you thought of it, if you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And Jazzman, how can people follow you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter or X, wherever we call it. It's still Twitter. Twitter and Instagram at Shreem16, SHREEM16. I'm definitely want to chat with you guys, especially about the music and the fashion.
Yeah,
Let's talk.
it was really good. Rania, do you have any that you want to share? Social media?
Yeah, sure. I don't check it that often, but it's Counting Crasher. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, so if people want to follow me there, they can.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure that you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, we really could use your ratings and reviews. 5 stars, it helps us a lot. And then we also have and if you are watching on YouTube, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Most of our viewers on YouTube aren't subscribed. So if you're in that camp, please subscribe. It really helps the algorithm a lot. And we also have our Patreon group, which you can get a chance to suggest podcast episodes, come on the show. You get to be part of our ranking episodes every week, all that fun stuff. So definitely it is worth your while. And so please check out the Patreon. And then we have our merch store, which has lots of fun designs. So check that out as well. And thanks so much. And we'll talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.